Hey everyone, it's Louisa from Feel Good Astrology, and I'm here today with Pedro Joao, who I have had many a conversation about astrology with in the past. And the last time we hooked up was just before Christmas with our other halves, and we had quite an animated chat about what might be coming up in 2020, 2021, because of a really big planetary alignment that was happening around December, January, all the way through to February, March, and it's still going on now, really. And so I thought it'd be really good to catch up with him and talk about future trends and what we might expect to occur. But before we sort of get cracking, I think it'd be sort of really good to introduce Pedro. So, Pedro, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the way you practice astrology? You know, what do you think people might want to know about you?
Yeah, okay. Hello, everyone. I practice astrology for a many long time. I start studying from my 19 anniversary. Maybe I don't know yet. I don't know already how long. But I just start studying. Then I study in the Lisbon in this known school. It's Kiran from Maria Flávia Monserrat. It's a well-known astrologer in Portugal. But it was like a sideway work that I did, and I just started working professionally from 2004. And more intensely after I quit my job in the system from 2012 afterwards. Then I just work in astrology and some other interests, but my main work is in astrology, and I love it. So I'm very well at this time.
Yeah. And you teach it as well, don't you? You run classes.
Yeah, I also start running classes. It was I would like to do that a long time ago, but I just started in around 5-6 years ago. So now I have some few very little groups, but several. And it's the one thing I really love is to teach what I know and what I always study in my life. So it's really nice. It's the best because when I start teaching in 5 years ago, I learned so much, because it's when you teach that you really go deep into things, and you really integrate and solidify your knowledge. So it's like glue, you know. When I start teaching to people, it's when I really start, wow, this is really, really good, and love it more and more and more. And I feel more at ease with many things that I take so many years to learn. It's really great. It's really great.
Yeah. I mean, it's not surprising either, you know, to an astrologer, if they were to know that both you and I are born around the same time of year, aren't we? We're both Sagittarians, and Sagittarians are notorious teachers. They love teaching, don't they?
Yeah, they love.
Especially the philosophical side of things, you know, really looking at abstract and the knowledge and experience and stuff. So last time we were talking, talking about what we thought might be happening in the world. And I remember at that dinner table, and we were saying, so are people going to be going into an awakening, or might there be an AI thing going on? Because there's a lot happening. And we were talking about smart cities, weren't we? And all this idea, because Uranus is still fairly new in Taurus, isn't it? And of course, Jupiter and Saturn. I mean, Saturn's already in Aquarius, but there's that heading off in that direction. So what are your thoughts about these times right now? What do you think astrology is hinting at right now?
I think it's amazing, and I say this to all my students, that nobody will that everyone who likes astrology and do astrology and learn astrology in right now will never forget anymore about the Capricorn sign. So the archetype of Capricorn, it's so intense right now, and it's so visible in the streets and in the public life, that which Capricorn means. So it's so visible, it's so pure, that no one will never forget these archetypes. So it's incredible the way it manifests in our lives, and inclusive around the world. So everyone in everywhere can see that and experience and live that.
Yeah. I was moving ahead into Aquarius, but you're right. We should take a step into Capricorn, because that is where we are right now. I read that because obviously we were talking about what might happen with Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter in a conjunction together, and also, you know, the fact that they, you know, two of those planets will soon be moving into a square with Uranus, and those feelings of unrest. But the conjunction in Capricorn, when I was looking at Jupiter and Pluto and thinking about it, I read an article about how pandemics are quite prominent at times with Pluto and Jupiter. And when they get together, I mean, obviously, they get together fairly frequently, but like with the 1918 flu pandemic, Jupiter and Pluto were together. And I started looking back. If you think Pluto is kind of disease and death, that's one interpretation, and Jupiter is like, let's spread that far and wide. Let's expand that
everywhere.
So what other images do you pick up about the sort of Capricorn vibe that's going on, you know?
Actually, I didn't look about other cycles of Jupiter Pluto, but I actually looked for Saturn Pluto cycles. Till the last time Pluto was around the same conjunction in Capricorn, 1970s. No, the 18th century, around that. But the thing is, the last conjunction in Saturn Pluto, it was in Libra, and the virus that was spreads in those days was the HIV, which is very meaningful, because Libra makes the HIV makes a social distance between the couple, between the two people that get intimate with. And now it repeats almost 38 years after, with another conjunction, this time in Capricorn. This virus makes social distance, so it's the same. It's a coldness. So in Libra, it was a coldness in the partnership, and now it's a coldness in the street. But with Pluto Jupiter, I take the interpretation to the big finance. And I think it will be these days, because Saturn Pluto already spread the seed in January, and will no longer make an exact aspect, but it's still in nearby, but it was just one exact aspect. And about Jupiter and Pluto will be 3 exact conjunctions this year. One is already done. The next one, I don't know. It's around maybe July. I don't know. June. It will be the next month, and in November. So it's that seed of those two planets cycles. Those two cycle planets is in the it's present, and it's about big money. So Jupiter, like, it's the director, and it's the good position man in this time in Capricorn, so in society. And Pluto is very powerful. So these, I usually say, these are the powerful ones that usually don't go down.
Yeah.
Too powerful to fall, you know. Pluto, Jupiter, for me, are those that are too powerful to fall and have much power and much money. And we are really seeing this now because of course, there are many kinds of power like this, like petrol people and other banks and other, but now it's the pharma that it's because it's a health issue right now, so it's the big pharma that it's going on the show, and that is our times. The first conjunction make the Jupiter Pluto first conjunction make the stocks go really down. And now till November, let's see what will happening. And of course, never forget that the Capricorn is the big institutions in our society, and Pluto and the governments and so on. And Pluto in Capricorn, it's like corruption till the middle of the bone in society, you know. I don't know the term in English because in Portugal we say it's corrupção até ao tutano. Tutano, it's the inside bone, you know.
We would probably say it's rotten to the core.
Yeah, rotten to the core. So in public institutions and governments, the corruption it's rotten to the core.
And we can
so we have to be alert about that, not to dramatize, because Capricorn archetype also is very sad and it's depression and makes has a little bit more pessimist than optimism. So it's normal that we are a little bit pessimist about what's going on and what will happen. But at the same time, we have to be alert and see what is behind the curtains in our governments and our institutions. And because it's the great opportunity here for me in Capricorn, before we advance for 200 years cycle between Jupiter and Saturn in air signs, so we are living 200 years of Jupiter Saturn in earth signs, so materialism, and all this thing. And now in the conjunction in December, solstice December this year, we start 200 years in air signs, Jupiter Saturn, that are growth cycles, economical and social growth cycles, 20 years, you know. So this is the big change in Capricorn, that we can really make a big transformation in our corporations, in our society. But we have to look at the corruption and put the hands on it. I think it's the last time to make a big change, and people that have those power and that money will no longer be governed as all.
So you're hopeful then that the governments will kind of collapse, or that people will awaken? How do you think that might occur?
It will be difficult because Capricorn, it's a tough sign. It's very difficult. It's rough. That's why, because this depression and this thing that is going will be durable, because Capricorn is the sign of time, you know. So it will not be easy. And it will be difficult for governments to change, but I think it's the last chance, because if they don't change in 2007 and 2008, when Pluto enters in Capricorn and makes the announcement that this is rotten, so we have to look at it. Until now, almost 15 years, 13 years, we did almost anything, because the people who done the bad work still going on, not in jail, at least in Portugal and many other countries, and I think, but still going on. And so the work haven't been done till now. So I think before Pluto enters in Aquarius and before we are moving forward to Aries signs, into Aquarian age, etc., it's the last chance for me, for everyone try to change the heavy structures that are governing us and the corruption that is in it. It's very difficult. It's a very, very, very difficult job, you know. That's why it has a big part of the shadow, because like I told in these days, because Capricorn, it's winter archetype, and in winter it has less. We have less light outside. Outside there's more shadow than light.
Yes.
So that's what we're looking for. That's what we are looking outside. There's a lot of shadow outside. So the light must come in.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
In the winter.
Something, you know, when you were talking about your social distancing as well in Libra, and how that you know, the distance was put in between lovers and people that you might find attractive, you know, it was affecting sexual relationships.
Yeah,
of course, with Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, the distance has occurred in families. You know, we've been separated from our old people. Now, I'm not entirely sure how it's playing out so much in Portugal, but I know back home in England, older people are in their retirement homes, and also around the world. I know, like in Australia, I've read reports of families not being able to visit their old relatives. And also, when we're talking about money and finance, there's a real implication for the retirement funds. There was a lot of chatter on the internet that one of the things that might go in the UK was that the retirement funds, the funds for the old people and for old age, were being robbed.
Wow.
So you know, it feels like the archetype of age is coming out as well. You know, it's an attack on the elderly.
Yeah.
The virus is also attacking or
that's
elderly people.
That's Capricorn as well. So Capricorn is old people. So it's very interesting for astrologers that these are happening, because it's old people that are in the main target of all of these. And on the other hand, there's the in that unsustainable way of some people, that we are too much in this planet. So maybe taking over some older people could be a name to do that. Older people are on the front of this archetype. No doubt about that.
And when you think about a lot of the leaders that are making the decisions for the public, they are older as well. You know, like when you look at some of the old contenders in parliaments around the world, they all seem to, or a lot of them seem to be above the age of 60. Not, you know, I don't want to say above the age of 60 is old, because, you know, my husband is like 54. And as I think about that, I think, oh, you know, I don't want to like age everyone. But it seems that people who have a lot of the decision-making power, or appear to have the decision-making power, seem to be older and more advanced in their years. Like, you know, Donald Trump, for instance. You know, I think he's the same age as my dad.
He's 70.
Yeah, around that. So, yeah. So, so we've kind of heard a bit about your thoughts about these times. How has your work changed since this kind of lockdown, or the idea of the pandemic has come about? You know, have you noticed much change in your clients and their need for your support?
Mainly it was the moving to the Zoom and WebEx lessons.
Yes.
Because before I already had some online readings, and I have on the readings in March, late March and April, it was a little bit lower, so people didn't come looking after me from the media before, but now in May it turns again to the normal. But mainly the big change, it was in my lessons. So I put the people online. Just one group I have didn't want that because probably they don't use technology so much, and we're not easy with it. But the other groups, it's okay. They join me, and it was and it's really pleasable, because from now on I said to them that probably from now on we'll make 50-50, like a blended learning. So half of the hours we stay online, and half of the hours we do it present.
Yes.
So that is the bigger change, the big change that it impacts on my work, let's say. And but I don't do so much. I go very easy. Let's say that way.
What a nice way to be. Now, before we started recording, you were telling me about a time that you're kind of excited about, you know, a time in the future where there's an interesting pattern. Did you want to, should we have a look at it and you talk us through your thoughts?
Okay, let's put
I'm just going to share a screen. I want to put a shout out to Sue Fraser, who said hello. I have responded to her and said, you know, because we've got a few people watching in at the moment, and I've asked people to share their questions. Everyone's a little bit quiet right now. I think they're just listening in and wondering what's coming up. So let's share this screen now. Oh, where's that picture gone? Hang on 1 second. Come on. Right, here it comes. So we've got an image in front of us, and if you tell me where you want me to put the mouse, I will move it around for you.
Okay.
Pedro.
I don't see the picture.
The audience do, but if you look
at so I will put on my screen, it's better.
Yeah. And if you tell me where you're looking, I will move my mouse.
So this is this is a ephemerid, very rare one. I think I didn't study it in the past many years. It's a very rare one because, as you can see, it's just the bigger planets from Jupiter to Pluto.
So we've got Jupiter, we've got
Saturn,
Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto on the chart.
And they make a pattern in the sky, very sharp one, very close. All four, not Saturn, but all the other four planets, big planets, make sextiles between them.
Yes.
Exactly in the 4th degree. It's a very, very strong pattern.
Yes.
And we have
in air or fire signs, so it's all very
it's masculine signs, all of them, so it's very outward, and it will be very expressive, and it will be very visible. And it's interesting because we were talking about the Pluto Jupiter cycle in Saturn that are in the sky right now, and 6 years later, in July 2026, they will be in their culmination, in their opposition, exact opposition, and makes the and makes that will make the strength of this pattern. It's the opposition that is the strength.
Yes.
So I don't know. This is always difficult to talk about the future, but this will this for me. I've studied till 2038 because if we don't engage in a really good light way in our society from now on, for me, in the opposition of Saturn Pluto around 2036, maybe it will be a big war for me if we don't engage now in light way. If we let the shadow governors, I think 2038 when Neptune enters in Taurus, I think we'll have the Earth completely polluted.
Yes.
So we will not wear a mask because of the COVID bullshit, but we have a mask because we can't breathe,
Yeah.
So these are very important times for us to make a really reset and start in a new and sustainable way. And this trapezium, it will happen 6th year. It's a very rare because with the planets there are the slow planets, so it's not easy to find these in astrology.
Yeah.
And for me, it's because till 2026, 60 years ahead, so now 2 years. This year will be very difficult. Next year, the main pattern, it will be a square between Saturn and Uranus. Yes. So it will means that we have to adjust and adapt to all the new things that these are going to put us in.
Yes.
So it will be difficult as well the next year. It will be very tense between the older habits and the new patterns,
Yeah,
and after 22, 23, then the Jupiter make a sextile with the Saturn, the crescent sextile. So it is the new, it is when the things start growing, that 20 years of social economical cycle of Jupiter, Saturn. And then it will make this trapezium in 26. So for me, this pattern, this figure in the sky will means that if we go and make the really good light changes in our society after this thing that we are living now, then in 6 years, maybe we are in a very, very, very good vibration to the new model of life, But in the other side, because there are I teach this to every student, all this in this planet is about light and shadow. And so you can always go through the light and the shadow. Usually you have a mixed, but just in the equinox you have really balanced, but it's just 2 days in a year. So the rest of the days you are always mixed with more shadow or more light. But if we enter in this cycle and after 6 years we let the shadow govern us, which means that the political will take our freedom more and more and more, monetarizes more and more and more, and so on, so on, so on. These trapeziums also will means that kind of way will also be flying very good.
Yeah.
I don't know if I make myself understand, but
unfortunately, my screen didn't share, and so so what I will do is I will put in your screen, the image, in post-production, so that anyone that watches this gets to see that video. I think you're very clear, actually. And I really thank you for talking to us in, your second language, because I certainly do that in French, which is my second language. There's no way I could do that. It's very impressive.
It's difficult because I like to use nice words in Portuguese, and so it's not good. And in astrology, it's a very symbolic. It's very symbolic language, so it's nice to have a good vocabulary.
Yeah. So,
it's okay.
what I heard from you is that, for the rest of this year, things are a bit tense, to say the least. And also for 2021, when we've got the really strong square between Saturn and Uranus. And it starts off actually with a square to Jupiter, doesn't it, earlier in the year. And then things start to sort themselves out. It feels like there's an ongoing kind of internal war between the young and the old. And like you say, it's important that we consider light and shadow at the same time. Now, when I was speaking to your amazing to Tanya on Monday, she was talking about integrating light and dark. And I then spoke to somebody else who was talking, a lovely guy, Chris Paradox, who was talking about integrating light and dark as well. And so I'm seeing that from an astrological perspective. So what would your final message be if you were going to share something about the realizations for you right now for the world? What would your final thought be that you're happy to share?
I will finish with the bravery in society, because the degree, the 24 or 5 degree that was the conjunction between Pluto and Saturn.
Yeah.
The Sabian degree. I don't know the name in English. Sabian degree.
Yeah.
The Sabian degree talks about that, about the social bravery. I think it's to win 2 medals in something that you make for the common good, the social good. So I think these are times that at the same time you are taking care of your home and your family and so on. You also have to be brave and act bravely in the street, outside, with the people, with the society. So, and this is very important, because if you want to be success in your life or for the next days or in everything, you have to be brave and not fall in fear, because fear it was the thing that makes this pandemic great. Yes. So you have to counter. You have to opposite that and show bravery. Don't be afraid of anything. Don't be afraid of economy. Don't be afraid of virus. Don't be afraid of the streets. Don't be afraid of anything. Just be calm, with attention and bravery. I think it's the main word here.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us today. I'd love to do this again if you'd like to.
Yeah, me too.
Other times, astrologically, I'd really, really appreciate that. So let me know when you're free, when you'd like to. So I'd like to thank you, and also to anyone that's watched in live, and also I want to thank in advance anyone that listens in later on. This is going to be post-produced into a podcast, and it's also going to be put onto YouTube. If any of this resonates with you at all, and you want to contact either myself or Pedro, how can people contact you if they want to work with you or talk with you about things?
They can contact me through my online page. It's www.tempura.pt.
Tempura.pt.
Yeah,
So
tempura.pt.
TEMPURA.pt.
P-O-R-A. Tempora.
Tempora. Okay, I will put a link to that as well with the video, so that
Thank
people
you very
can
much.
Reach you. And obviously, if you want to reach me, you can reach me. It's Louisa at feelgoodastrology.com. Anyway, thank you so very much. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much for having
and I
me
hope
now.
everybody who's been listening in has enjoyed it too. Thank you so much for joining us today. Stay tuned for other episodes coming up. Lots of love from Portugal. Bye for now.